your mother? It's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eat teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo, Sheil, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Bo, Sheil, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings.
Statistics, they can be like bathing suits. What they, what.
Finish it up. Sometimes you gotta take them off.
What the hell?
What they show is revealing, but what they conceal is vital, right? So.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends. Bo Wolf, Marissa Morris, Sheil Kapadia, and Mr. Bathing Suit himself, Zach Berman. How's everybody doing tonight? Sheil, what did you make of Tyree Jackson's performance today?
The opening never gets old. I laugh every time. It's an all-time moment from Z-Berm there. So thank you for that, Z-Berm. We still have it. Thank you to everyone with their recommendations for BWF road trip. I did make the change, Z-Berm. You were right. You said go check out the alma mater. You haven't been there in a long time. So sorry, Williamsport. You're out. State College is in for a night. Found a hotel there, and so we'll go see the alma mater, and of course, the Instagram content over my what shoulder is this? Oh, this one. Okay,
your left shoulder.
Over my left shoulder. You can go ahead, pause once Bo starts talking. You can kind of just tune him out. Go to Instagram, hit the follow. You can see a nice video today of Nick Sirianni with the Overbrook Monarchs football team having a little catch, and it was organic. Sometimes those PR moments are sort of set up, or someone says go do this, but I saw Sirianni and he was going just talking to the kids, and so nice little video there. Take you inside training camp. Well, sorry, you had a question, Bo? I don't
Yeah, I asked it specifically,
Zach,
knowing that you were
Zach,
gonna. Yeah,
I
set you up.
Okay.
So we got plenty to talk about. We will do a little Quactus report. We're gonna do a little Owl at the end of the show. We'll maybe find out where Sheil has the Eagles' defense pegged, as his story on the defensive rankings is on deck. But Zach, I mean, it's been a long time. What was it like to finally get to watch a practice with the pads on for the first time? Did it feel like football?
It did. Now, there was no tackling to the ground. It was a thud period. There were a few hits to the ground. Anthony Harris treated Travis Fulgham like this was week 3, right? And not
and it was like totally accidental, didn't you think?
Yes. Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah, it was just like his timing was so good.
He thought that Fulgham was going to turn a different way, I think, and he was surprised that he turned right into him and they just collided.
I will say this though, Anthony Harris is a bigger man than I thought. You kind of some guys you watch on TV and you sort of think what they look like, but he's one of those. I usually hate when people do this. Actually, when they're like, "I'll tell you what, in person, I got this great observation," but I swear it's true. I saw Anthony Harris and I'm like, "Oh, he's a bigger safety than I thought he was." Sorry, Zach.
I've gotten the opposite, right? When I used to do television and then someone would see me in an airport, they would say to me, "You're a lot shorter than I thought." And I'm like, because you saw me sitting on a set, right? So yeah, I actually get the opposite.
So for those of you watching on YouTube or later watching on live or later, make sure that you are liking. If you want us to keep doing these, scratch our back, we'll scratch yours, and make sure that you're downloading and re-downloading and telling all your friends and evangelizing about the pod and leaving comments on Apple Podcasts. I think it's time for Sheil to call everybody to account once again on the comments, perhaps.
Yeah, there's only so much I can sort of berate our listeners for. Now, I like to test those limits, don't get me wrong. So I shouldn't put a ceiling on myself, but I feel like when I'm berating them for the Instagram stuff, I have to take a break.
Oh, so
reviews, but that's more me. That's not being a team player. I know.
See, Zach, this is a clear example. She's a me guy. And we're we guys.
You got to be. Oh, you are. Okay. No, yeah, I thought you were going to say you got to be a me guy, but you could go review, rate, subscribe. I noticed some people by accident. I actually discovered this. Some people actually leave comments on the Athletic app. Have you seen this? We have access to these
every couple months. I'll come across it.
So I was catching up on those a little bit. But yes, please do go do all that stuff that Bo mentioned.
All right. So there's a full diary of today's practice on The Athletic, which you can read from Zach and I. But why don't we start with you, Sheil? This was your last day at Eagles camp before you hit the road. I think you're going to come back on the back end of the trip. But as you prepare to set sail, what were your thoughts on the Eagles and Pads? Give us your big takeaways in this Quackness report.
Well, so for as much as we mock and make fun of the pads on thing, it is exciting. It's like an exciting every summer football writer thing where you've had your break, you start camp, it start getting ramped up, but it's like the third day and not a lot's going on, and then all of a sudden the pads come on and it's real football, although they're not tackling to the ground. So my big takeaways, and I'm curious because I didn't get to I purposefully did not read your practice report yet so that we could get a organic discussion.
One of the greater purposes of your life.
Go here. I'll tell you what, who I saw having a nice day was Travis Fulgham today. In the one-on-ones. I don't know if that was part of your observations or not, but I was over there for the one-on-ones with the corners and the wide receivers, and he was matched up, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with the numbers here. I thought he had 4 reps against Darius Slay, and 3 of those were catches, and 1 of those was a flag on Darius Slay. And like he was separating, there was a slant where you can kind of just see him use his big body. Now listen, a slant in wide receiver cornerback one-on-ones. Right. If you're not coming down with that, that's an issue. But he also had a downfield catch against Darius Slay that I thought was pretty nice. And just kind of watching the way he moved, it does seem like this coaching staff is invested in like getting the most out of Travis Fulgham. And so I feel like it's going to be different than last year. I don't know exactly what happened last year, whether that was Fulgham, whether that was the team making bad decisions, whether the front office stepped in or what. But I feel like this coaching staff is saying, hey, let's get a clean slate with you. We saw what you did last year, and let's try to maximize your ability. So that was one thing that really stood out to me today.
Go ahead, Zach. I was on the other field during that session. I've actually thought that Fulgham has been sort of quiet so far. So positive to hear that he was torching Slay. Or if you want to look at it, bad news that Darius Slay was getting torched by Travis Fulgham. What did you see, Zach?
I thought Sheil did a good job summarizing those one-on-ones, and you did hit it well there, Bo. You can also have a dose of concern about Darius Slay, although I agree with Sheil. Those are designed really for the wide receivers. That said, on the other side of the field, because that was on the quarterback's right, on the quarterback's left, Zach Mcpherson was having a day in the one-on-ones. Now, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was not getting the separation he needed on one of those passes, right? And Zach Mcpherson did a good job there. But Andre Patton's not like a big-time NFL receiver either. Actually, no, the J.J. Arcega-Whiteside one was Josiah Scott. Josiah Scott made a nice play on that. But there were 3 other plays in particular, including on Andre Patton, when I believe Jonathan Gannon was gassing him up, was gassing Mcpherson up. Mcpherson has shown up throughout camp. I feel he's
I think especially the last 2 days, he's really sort of turned it on. Go ahead.
He's been the best first or second year defensive player, which I know is not saying much because they haven't invested a lot of high picks in defensive players. But he's jumped out in that regard. And then I would also say you look at a big picture. I understand why they signed Steve Nelson, and I understand why they signed him when they did. There was that school of thought which Howie Roseman spoke about during the spring, which was bring these guys into camp, see what you have, and then do what you did in 2017 when you went and traded for Darby. I wonder if they did not acquire Nelson, if Mcpherson would have shown them enough in these first few weeks to think maybe he can start opposite Darius Slay.
Well, I think there are a few things that I would sort of play devil's advocate about in that line of thinking. One being, it's extremely unlikely you're going to go through the season needing only 2 starting outside cornerbacks. Sure. And presumably it was like coming to a decision point for Steven Nelson. He wanted to be in camp somewhere. So it was either, we pay him or somebody else does. And the other thing is, like, I have been very impressed with Mcpherson the last couple of days. He had in team drills, he had a really nice break and a near interception on a pass towards Jamon Osborne, and just dropped the interception and did some push-ups. And then at the end of practice, when practice is over, they do a little 10-minute development period for just the young players, and he sort of forced an interception by batting the ball up into the air during 7-on-7s that was picked off by Graylin Arnold, and he had another interception yesterday. He's been really good, but we should just contextualize for people who are not there. I mean, he has been almost exclusively working with the third team. Today, he was with the second team a little bit, and he's only been working on the outside, not inside. But, I mean, it's definitely good news, and he's shown up, but it's still like he's still at the bottom of the roster. It's a long way from saying he's ready to step in and be a starting caliber corner in the NFL from day one.
Move him up. Let's get a look. Isn't that what this is for?
Yeah, I think
put together a couple days
I'm
of
interested
practice.
to see what type of moves happen depth chart wise. Maybe after the first week is over, if they start making some moves. Like right now, it's been Slay and Nelson with the ones. It's been Michael Jacquet and Craig James with the twos, and then Mcpherson and a mix of Levert Hill and Kevon Seymour with the threes. I would expect that we'll start seeing more of Mcpherson with the twos, and there are a few other spots where I'm expecting to see some movement. Potentially Coyote Awoshika moving up to second team right guard with Brandon Brooks down.
Well, I think Steven, just because you hit the pronunciation, that's your guy.
He's good. I mean, I'm not willing to call it yet, but he's probably the front runner. He's probably the front runner for the Camp Crush, the bottom of the roster Camp Crush. So
well, Sheil can claim the feature when he's up at Buffalo.
That's right.
There you go. Steven Nelson was matched up with Jalen Reagor in those one-on-ones, and I thought Nelson really handled him pretty well.
He was good in one-on-ones yesterday too.
Yeah. There was definitely a period, it might have been the first 2 days of practice, where I saw number 3 Nelson, and I'm thinking this is some back end of the roster guy. I forgot that Steven, these numbers throw me off. And listen, I won't say that I'm on top of my game right now. It's training camp for all of us.
You're the national guy. You're not supposed to be.
But I'm like, oh, this Nelson guy is pretty interesting. He's feisty. He can cover a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, wait, this is like the longtime NFL veteran. So I thought he definitely got the better of Reagor. And I'll tell you another, when we're talking back end of the roster, wide receivers, Quez Watkins, I feel like has shown up quite a bit, and not just in like one way, making plays downfield, separating. I almost feel like it's a situation where if they can get like the simple stuff down with him, whether it's, I think where to line up or, what you're supposed to do on this play, like the physical ability is definitely there. It seems like
comparatively. I think that's well said.
With the other guy. So I thought Watkins, he was matched up with Craig James here. I have in my notes, and he did a very good job.
I think you can make a case that he's just athletically probably the third most talented receiver on the roster.
Behind Devontae and Reagor.
For 2 first-round picks, yeah.
And credit to Bo, because Bo was on the Quez Watkins train before the draft. That was his late-round guy to target.
That's true, but I mean, we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, he didn't practice the first few days, so he's only been practicing for 2 or 3 days now. So he has shown up the last couple of days.
I was actually thinking about if Bo has overtaken the Kapadia curse from me.
There's some guys.
I had this thought. No, it's not draft stuff. I mean, listen, my draft track record is terrible for the most part, so I'm not calling you out on that. But you've a couple things in the last year I was thinking about. Don't ask me why. But one of them was, I remember last year, I think it was when I was doing the nerd guides, and it was like the Super Bowl odds, and you were like, my big takeaway from this is that the Bucks have better Super Bowl odds than the Eagles this year.
I was so wrong about the Bucks.
But then the other one was when we taped the 3 podcasts in a row, and you just like out of nowhere started ripping Giannis. I remember, right?
Yes.
Am I right about that?
Yes.
I know. At least I wasn't alone on that. Everybody was ripping Giannis after that Game 5 against the Nets. I wasn't alone.
No, not everybody. Not everybody.
Okay, not you.
I'm
Go
just
back
saying
and
I
roll
had
the
But
tape.
that's true. That's definitely
Go
true.
back
Yeah,
and roll the tape.
that's
Yep.
two
Well,
champions. That's two champions I poo-pooed early.
Yeah, that's 2 champions in not less than a year. That's pretty good. Now, I'll be writing some stories. Obviously, these teams that I'm visiting, their fan bases should be very scared because who knows what I write here and what will happen to those teams. So I'm not saying, maybe it's just the Kapadia curse is sort of rubbing off on you out of 4 years doing a podcast together. You're learning the ways of the Kapadia curse.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I was talking today about I don't know if you guys. I mean, right now we can get to my lot of Dillard because I think it is like a.
I want to know about that because I didn't watch any of the
TKO right now.
ones.
But last year, if you remember, I mean, I was counting my lot out. Like it was year 3, and Joe Osman was still beating him with the same spin moves. And it was like every one-on-one. And I was like, this guy is never going to get it. It's over. Like, what are we doing here? And then, middle of the season, I'm like his biggest fan. And I think he's fantastic. But like, it's a good reminder that like our snapshot judgments here are, that's all they are.
It's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
And by the way,
in your defense, Dillard goes down. And the first guy they put in was Matt Pryor. So I don't think
they didn't know. Right.
Counting out Jordan Mailata. Yeah. I'm sorry, Sheil.
And no, Joe Osman's like, if you just judged a player by their sort of performance in like these one-on-ones or spin moves, I mean, you would definitely think Joe Osman is like the next Khalil Mack or Von Miller or something. Right. I mean, he's always performing there. So that's a lesson learned for us. But how are you supposed to know that? Your first glance at Joe Osman.
Right. As Thomas says in the chat, in Bo's defense, he called the Eagles' O-line collapse and bad record last year in the summer pod. I don't remember that, but, but I'll take it. Thank you, Thomas.
Tommy boy. Cousin Thomas,
point.
Thank you for joining.
You see T. Sheil's point. I always get like flummoxed by this criticism of these beat writers are giving us like what's happening at practice like it matters. That's why we're there, right? To watch practice. We're not there to, you hear they make a big deal about what happens in these August sessions. That's the reason why we're there, is to watch practice and be your eyes and ears. We're not we're not saying.
Who complains about that? People complain about that?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh,
really? Absolutely.
Templar.
I think that might be other media. I remember when I was with when I was working for Philly.com. And I think I started doing the running diaries, or it might have been Birds 24/7. But like people can't get enough of training camp observations, and especially now where they can watch every press conference, they can watch every game, they can watch the coaches film. This is like the one thing that you as a reporter have access to that the readers and the fans do not. And I feel like every little observation is appreciated.
Absolutely. Well said.
Hope so. Okay, so you said you wanted to hear my lot of Dillard. So today,
all O-line, D-line, just talk about that.
Well, there's like every rep that they took is in the observations, but
okay.
Also just throughout team periods. So they're in pads today. My lot it's his turn to work with the ones, Dillard's with the twos, and it's just like it's just a blowout every day. One-on-ones, Mailata was okay. He wasn't like as dominant as he's been throughout camp necessarily, but he was pretty good. I have to look at my notes to see who he was going up against. There were a couple reps where it was like Derek Barnett beat him on like the third move, some third spin move inside, but like you would hope that the ball would be out by then. Yeah, come on. Dillard wasn't as bad in one-on-ones, but he was worse than Mailata. But during teams, Mailata, I think it was the first play of team drills or the second play. Mailata's got Brandon Graham on the ground.
Oh, I saw that.
In run block.
Is there is there video of this? Because it looked like I felt like I caught like the latter end of it. Mm-hmm. And so I see like Graham on the ground, but it seemed like Mailata was fired up. Like he just crushed him. And then he helped him up.
It could have been.
I wish I could see a replay of that.
It's a massive humanity. It's a jumbled mess. It could have been he just tripped on somebody, but it looked to me like he got him on the ground.
It seemed like something, I thought, from the body language afterwards again.
Right. And then, he did lift him up, and he's keeping everybody in check throughout the live periods. Well, not live, but throughout the full 11-on-11 drills. And then meanwhile, Dillard, I think it was his first pass set of 11-on-11s after he has like a pretty good run block. Josh Sweat, who as Zach tells us is Daniil Hunter incarnate and is like the most athletic guy, but not necessarily known for his power moves. Just bull rushes Dillard right into the quarterback, like no power. And there were a couple other times where he sort of got pushed into the quarterback. It's just like I find it extremely hard to believe that anything could happen non-injury related that would make me think that Jordan Mailata doesn't deserve to be the starting left tackle.
What do you mean? What if Dillard lights it up? What if Dillard's great in the preseason?
I just don't see it happening. I mean,
in Dillard's defense, I mean, go back and watch those 80s Giants training camps when they were trying to block Lawrence Taylor. Like that's hard to do.
All right.
That's pretty good.
All right, so it's still all Mailata, no Dillard. The gap.
I mean, if I was grading it, if I was doing it like head to head every day, it would be 6-0.
Oh wow, okay.
I would agree with that. Now Dillard, his finger popped up at the end. Well, the injury.
Which finger
became an issue? The injury
was
became
pointed
an issue
towards me
at the end of the day. Correct. He had that taped up, as Sheil observed yesterday, and I believe he came off at the end of practice today to get that looked at. Is that right?
I didn't see that.
Okay.
So
well,
telling me
something to monitor here.
Okay.
But no, I think Jordan Mailata has risen to the challenge. I think that if you even take away what happened last year, and we can all agree the way Jordan played in games is worthy of it being his job to lose as opposed to his job to win. But even if you just disregard that and you think this competition started on July 27th, Jordan's been the better player so far.
Yes.
So there's still a lot of time. This was the first day in pads. There are 3 preseason games. I imagine those guys are going to get quite a few snaps in the preseason games. But if you're just going based on what you see when they're with the first team, Jordan Mailata has been the better player.
Well, it's also like, there's an anchoring bias at play here, right? Because Dillard's a first-round pick and Mailata's a seventh-round pick. But like, if you look at these two guys now, like Mailata is enormous and he's like super athletic. Like if you just said bring a scout on right now who has been on a deserted island for the past 5 years, tell me which of these two guys is a first-round pick. There's no doubt they would choose Mailata. That's true. Mailata looks like few people, I mean, on earth, right. But I'm thinking like few offensive linemen we've seen. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it certainly is true. So, all right, well, continues to be something to watch. But yeah, it seems like Mailata is certainly ahead. Let's see. A comment here, some curiosity about Zach's budding mustache. Zach, how we? Mustache. I shaved this morning. You shaved this morning. Look at my machismo, right, Zach. Oh, this is suit hero. This is probably this is an 8 p.m. podcast, number one. So it's been a full day. How many showers? It might be the lighting here. Not 3 showers today because I didn't wear sunscreen today. So the 3 showers is when you wear sunscreen because you got to get that sunscreen off. Okay. But you kind of have to be looking for the must. Now, once you do look for it, it is kind of funny. You can see but I didn't notice anything. I'm very impressed. That's some real stubble for just one day. You shave every day, Z-Berm? You do, right? I never see any scruff on you. Yeah, during the season, every day. Every day? Every other day. Like, I won't shave on. I don't know why we're talking about this, but I feel like I'm a twice-a-week guy. I won't do Saturday. Yeah, I won't do Saturday and I won't do Monday, but then I'll do the days when I'm going to NovaCare and have that kind of thing. Well, see, this is a bald man's issue because what happens is if I'm going to shave the face, I'm not just going to shave the face. You got to do it all, and so then it becomes a production and a longer shower. I got to have a good podcast to listen to. If I don't, then it's like, do I really want to be doing this for so long? So this is a difficult life I lead. These are real problems that others might not think about that us bald guys got to think about. Have you ever grown a full beard, Zach? I have not. Ooh.
I don't know if I can, honestly. I mean, I'm sure I can.
Well, somebody suggests in the chat what's a bet we could make to get Zach to grow a beard.
It feels
that'd be
uncomfortable
better than the
for me,
blonde
like-
hair.
Like
That's better than the blonde hair.
if I go a few days, it feels uncomfortable. So I'm,
Well, yeah, but
I'm
then
not
once you get to the other side of that uncomfort, then it feels like a nice little cushion.
See,
Okay.
my problem is it doesn't grow in like a beard. Like it's almost like someone is doing. They're doing no, not splotchy. It's like they're doing acupuncture to my face. Like each hair would be sticking out and touching the walls here.
It's a great expression.
If I just didn't shave, like I've tried this in the off season. I'm like, all right, maybe I just haven't let it grow in a lot. But no, it's just these prickly things that if I run into people, I will injure them.
Sheil the porcupine.
So I don't know. Listen, I'm very, as you know, I'm very interested in all things facial hair, grooming, chest waxing, all these things I feel like are my favorite podcast content. If we could make that just the topic of this podcast, I would be a happy man.
How about if Josh Sweat gets to 10 sacks, Zach grows a beard?
I'm not invested in Josh Sweat's career. Like I covered Josh Sweat, but
I was gonna say, all right,
yeah.
if someone donates $10,000 to charity, I'll get
someone-
my chest waxed in Williamsport next week.
yes. Yeah, if someone donates $10,000 to charity, I will grow a beard. I will grow a beard.
I mean,
for
that's a bit of a
$10,000.
high bar. Let's lower it a little bit.
That's
You
the
don't
number
know what
Sheil
kind of
just
money
threw
our
out.
listeners have.
Yeah. That's the number Sheil just threw out. But I mean, we can agree on. I don't think we need to do this now on the first day of pads to be talking about facial hair. But
Well, you'd get yourself a nice pad on the face.
It'd be good for the winter months, you know. Let's So we have time to work on it. Interesting defensive look I saw today.
Can we crowdfund? Asks Austin.
So the Eagles had like 4 defensive linemen, 1 linebacker, and then Jannard Avery. And now this might be what you were talking about before. I don't know, but I was kind of confused about this Jannard Avery, Joker, Sam, whatever you want to call it, role. But it's like he's like a 5th pass rusher, you know, like And so, but there's only 1 other linebacker on the field at that time.
Right. It's like it's like you think of it as sort of like a 5-1-5.
Yes. Okay. So they have shown that before. Is that what you're trying to describe before?
I mean, they have shown sort of every different combination of those things you could think of, except for like just 3 regular linebackers. So yes, we've seen the 3 down linemen, 2 sort of, wing guys, call it, pretend it's Sweat and Avery, 1 linebacker, and then 5 defensive backs. We've seen the same thing, but with 2 linebackers and 4 defensive backs. We've seen 4 down linemen and an Avery and a linebacker and 5 defensive backs. The same thing with 2 defensive backs. We've sort of seen every combination of those things, which it's interesting. I mean, so because of that, we have seen like Jannard Avery drop into coverage against a running back or a tight end or something like that. So tools in the toolbox, I guess.
Yeah, it's the defensive coordinator guidebook is when you take the job, you say we're going to be multiple, right? Well, we're going to be multiple.
Yeah, and I have never seen it actually look true until now.
Jonathan Gannon is not lying to us. They are multiple.
Yeah.
Like if you ask me what their defense is, I would say multiple, because on a given game, I bet, like, depending on a matchup, you might see something totally different than you saw the week before. And he gave the answer last week when he said the number 1 defense last year, the Los Angeles Rams, Brandon Staley used so many different defensive fronts. I think he said they used the most different packages in the league or something of that nature.
Yeah, he did.
But I think that would be, now I don't want to say that's going to be the model because they had different personnel, right? But I do think that Brandon Staley type of coaching is what you're getting in Jonathan Gannon, and both are Ohio guys, young Ohio guys.
And what I said, I think I've said this before, but what is a little bit interesting to me is, given as much as we have seen of that position so far, it's surprising that it's going to be left to Avery, Osman, or Patrick Johnson, a 7th-round pick.
And not Kerrigan? Why not Kerrigan?
Well, we haven't seen him used there. I imagine that's a possibility. There's a possibility that Eric Wilson could be used in that way. He did a little bit of it with the Vikings last season. But given how important it seems like that role is going to be, I would have thought there would have been a little bit more of an investment given into that position, and maybe there still will be.
How about Mike Zimmer? Has he gone up your? Is he like your favorite coach
My
in the
guy.
NFL right now?
Big Zim, my guy, my dude.
Okay,
Fantastic. Speaking of which, I gotta say, this is not definitive, but the Eagles, the team wears these green bracelets if they're vaccinated.
Oh, is that true? Players?
Yeah, the players do. I think everybody on the field, as far as I know.
Okay.
And it's not, if you're not wearing it, doesn't definitely mean that you're not vaccinated. But Joe Flacco giving his press conference today in the mixed zone, no wristband on Avalon Joe. Audubon.
No wristband.
No
okay.
wristband.
All right, so you're saying you wear a wristband if you are vaccinated.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, couldn't play for Mike Zimmer then.
Well, he could. I mean, all those guys are on the roster.
Yeah, they have the lowest vaccination rate. Yeah, Zimmer has
crazy. He's throwing them under the bus. These guys read some really weird stuff. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and
probably should have pulled that audio.
I do sort of, echo his exasperation at some of this, and,
it's crazy.
And how simple he feels like it should be, and what people are reading and all that. So he's really, he's been like a star, I feel like, of training camp so far.
I agree.
Nothing
it's also like, sorry, go ahead.
Nothing compels a public health measure more than an empty quarterback room, right? Like that. I mean, I'm being facetious when I say that. I thought that was going to get a little more of a laugh from.
No, I mean, no, it's like the it is sort of like football coaches. How could you get them to speak like Nick Saban? How can you get them to speak out on this stuff? Well, it may affect winning and losing.
Right,
the sport you coach.
The best ability is availability.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Vaccine ability.
Mike Zimmer he must just look at Kirk Cousins and be like, get me another freaking guy in here.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. It's crazy. And it's also, it's also not just like you moron. It's like you're affecting all of us. Like we got kids, they're not, they don't get to be vaccinated.
Ron Rivera.
It pisses me off.
Yeah.
But better to be pissed off than pissed on.
Any other I was just writing about?
Any other takeaways from you, Sheil?
Any other takeaways from practice? Let's see here. We got to a Quez Watkins. We got to a Mcpherson. We got to a Jannard Avery. The Ertz thing is still very weird to me. How about that? I meant
the Ertz thing is weird. And you know what, though? It's like he's been pretty good, and he's playing a lot. Like he's playing a lot of snaps in team drills. Like they really aren't messing around with him.
I wouldn't say he's playing with a joy.
No, I would not say so either.
I would not say that.
With a verve.
That Super Bowl year, he was playing with a joy.
It's like an exasperation. Like,
yes.
He's still good.
I thought you guys said it well on the Saturday pod when you said like he's like vacillating between being a good teammate and like professional and
trying.
like what is going on here, right? Like you can see that push and pull.
Yeah,
in his mind
you really can.
Yeah.
It's all over his face. Every time I look at him, it's all over his face. Exactly what you just described. So that continues to be weird. I was thinking the screen game. Remember what a disaster the screen game was last year?
Oh my God.
I forget what the stats were that we were
terrible.
breaking out late in the season. The Colts had an outstanding screen game last year. And so again, that doesn't mean that the Eagles are going to have an outstanding screen game, but I do feel like you've seen some flashes of that in camp. It's certainly a part of what they're going to do. It seems like they've executed some of those nicely. And if we're thinking Jalen Hurts, all right, how do we build an offense around him? We said you include him in the run game. You need those sort of second reaction plays where he's just getting out there doing something, chucking it downfield. Screen game can certainly be another kind of big aspect of that. I mean, you see some of these teams, you've seen it from the Eagles in the past where you're just like, all right, once or twice a game, this is going to get them or give them a shot at a big play, and they're executing it really well. And then you saw last year where it was just a disaster. So I meant to mention that the other day, but that's something that has certainly caught my eye here a little bit. 61 is who? Number 61.
Wisniewski.
No, what was new. Now, I keep thinking, by the way, Zach's question, and this is the weirdest one. When I see 53, Zach,
Moses Foku?
Moses Foku.
Yeah.
Maybe because that's when I first started sort of really, watching the team closely and going out to
I think
camp,
of him too. I think of him too.
yeah. The funniest, and I think I've told.
Well, Rashad Smith, who was 53 now, sort of looks a little bit like in the jersey like Foku, so I can see that.
61 is Rayquan Williams.
Yes.
Okay, so Joe Flacco, 2 passes batted by Rayquan Williams.
Yeah.
Give us
Just
the backstory on Rayquan
grill.
Williams.
Rayquan Williams, undrafted.
I feel like this is Z-Brum's wheelhouse here. They'll tell me
undrafted out of Michigan State.
Family
Was a productive player at Michigan State. Was with the practice squad last year. Got called up a few times, I believe, or maybe not.
Played in a couple games.
Is another guy who played in games last year?
Well, I mean, everybody on the roster played in games last year.
Gosh, all right.
And does have an interesting backstory, but I don't want to, it's more serious than football, and I don't want to screw it up by summarizing it here. But
gotcha.
It does have an interesting backstory.
Good job by him.
He's it's interesting in one-on-ones. He gets more reps than anybody in one-on-ones. He was sort of stuffed a little bit during one-on-ones today by almost everybody. But then in team drills, two passes batted down right in Joe's face. Good job by Rayquan.
Bad job by Joe.
Yeah, more so bad job by Joe. And like the pass got batted down and his blood pressure level didn't move an inch. It was just like it was
that's what it takes to win. That's what it takes to win a Super Bowl, man.
Right. Joe, you know what? He's playing a lot of football.
That's what it takes. Look, that's what it takes to go into Denver and go into Foxborough and pull out those wins. Is the blood pressure doesn't change, right? He throws that overtime touchdown to Jacoby Jones. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course.
The one that Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, that only happens if you are Cool Joe, right? Turns down the contract extension, bets on himself, wins the Super Bowl, signs the biggest contract in NFL history. That's what happens when the blood pressure doesn't go up and down.
You know how they have the calls to the draft picks, like when they're drafting them. That's always good content. They tell them I wish we could have a phone call of when they called him or his agent called him and told him they were giving him a raise from last year, and he was going to be making $3.5 million. CTC, my man. Listen, that's my motto. Good for you. Jason Huntley, another long touchdown.
Another one
this
today.
Is every day.
And we want to see
it from people.
And there was a great line from there were a bunch of youth football players in practice, watching practice today. And after that big Huntley run, one of them goes to the other, "You see that? That's vision, man. You don't got that."
I was impressed.
And then he just starts crushing the guy,
right there,
just crushing his running back. Like you don't have that.
The coach said it, or another player?
No, it was like a teammate. I mean, he's busting balls, but it was very funny.
I was very impressed with the youth football players' knowledge. They knew more players than I did out there. They were commentating to each other behind me, and I'm like, "How do you know who this guy is?" I mean, I was like a crazy fan at that age, but I even was impressed. It's a great run by Huntley. I mean,
it was really nice.
I feel like every day he just runs right past me and is leaving these defenders in the dust.
Yeah,
and that's an interesting position group in terms of how it will play out. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, and to your point there, Bo, credit to Jimmy Kempski. Before camp, Jimmy Kempski did his 53-man projection, and he had them keeping 5 running backs, and Huntley was one of them because he mentioned wanting speed from that spot and versatility. And I'm thinking 5 running backs. Why would you keep 5 running backs? But I don't want to take the words out of Bo's mouth. That group has impressed this summer.
Yeah, I think so. Sanders has been Sanders. Huntley's shown some juice.
Another drop today, though. What is going on with his hands?
His hands got hands like feet.
I think he had the worst drop percentage of any player with this. I forget how many routes in the NFL last year. Now that's subjective. There were definitely some garbanzo beans throws his way, but there also were some drops. This guy was a fantastic receiver his rookie year.
Kerryon Johnson has been a little bit sprier of late, and they also did the running back pass protection drills today. And I mean, Kerryon Johnson is like far and away the best in that group.
Oh, really?
It's not even close.
Okay.
So he's been all right. I mean, even Jordan Howard, who I don't think he should be here, has looked better than I would have expected. Bosco's been a part of the offense.
Bosco's had a stone cold blitz pickup, big play today.
Yeah,
where Jalen.
Well, he's just it's the classic lose slow. Like he will just put his body in the way and let you run him over, but you're not getting to the quarterback.
Well, Sirianni seemed to really like that because it gave Hurts that extra second to find Zach Ertz, I believe it was.
And what's your read on Gainwell?
Yeah, actually, my opinion has changed a little bit on this, although he's not going to be one of my players in the next segment. I don't know that he's going to be super involved right away. What do you think?
I thought going into camp he would be.
I thought so
but
too.
I think Boston Scott's spent more time, I guess Boston Scott's done more than I expected. Huntley has shown some. It's still so early. I know I keep saying that. But I did think Gainwell was going to show more during camp than he's shown so far.
He did actually have a good run today up the middle with the threes, and he had a nice catch in 2-minute drills. But go ahead, Sheil.
No, it feels like it's going to be a more specialized role. Like you see him in doing like the orbit motion, and then they swing it to him. I think that was a play today. We talked about sort of the Texas routes he was running yesterday. I could certainly see him being a part of the screen game or if the other team's in base, splitting out wide against the linebacker. I think those are the things they envision for him. Now, my take has been on those types of things is, all right, let's see which one of you are Bill Walsh and are actually making this work rather than the idea of making it work. And then you're forcing these 3 or 4 plays a game that look terrible. That seems to happen more often than not. But I think that seems to be the way they're using him more as a pass catcher.
Also, Gainwell does not wear gloves, which
interesting. You bring this up. Go ahead.
Yeah, which is growing up, I used to always love baseball players who do not wear batting gloves. But it's
Moses Alou.
Yeah, exactly.
Loved it.
It's not a look you see very often.
A little urine on there, toughen them up.
Yes.
I asked Kenny Gainwell about that today, Zach, after practice, and he was wearing gloves today. And I asked him, what's the deal with that? How do you decide? And he says what he does is he goes 2 days off, 1 day on, because he feels like it builds up. He feels like that builds up his hands.
Wait, what? So what is he going to do in games?
That's a good question. I didn't ask that follow-up, which I should have. But I assume he will wear them in the games.
Like that sounds like something like my daughter would do or something. I don't know about like we're a big pattern.
It's also funny because he has struggled catching punts, and I don't know how much the no gloves is a part of that, but there you go. There's the answer. All 2 off, 1 on.
Are we supposed to play these ad reads or listeners are asking? Yeah.
Good question. All right. Well, on the other side, we're going to do a little owl, but before that, let's hear a word from our sponsors. Listen, I've been trying to cut down on carbs and sugar and unhealthy food. I'm trying to show up to training camp in the best shape of my life. And I realized I basically can't eat any of the good stuff anymore, especially cereal. Well, guess what? Magic Spoon is saving the day for me. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. There's only 140 calories a serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. And get this, you can build your own box or get a variety pack with available flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. And guess what? Magic Spoon is bringing back 2 super popular flavors: cookies and cream and maple waffle, permanently. And I got to tell you, this maple waffle, delicious. I had some this morning, mixed in a little granola. Woo, baby. Good start to the day. It's fantastic. It's healthy. It's delicious. And they've got a bunch of flavors, whatever strikes your fancy. So go to magicspoon.com/birds to grab your delicious cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code BIRDS at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it is backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/birds and use the code BIRDS for $5 off. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this episode. Hello, everybody. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, and it's got none of the junk. No sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS, no gas, no, trackers that are going to follow you around, no microchips, none of that stuff. There's nothing like that in Element. Don't worry about it. And the proof is in the pudding, my friends. Dozens of professional teams and players in the NBA, NFL, and NHL are on monthly Element subscriptions, typically recommended by the head of their sports performance and nutrition. So here's what you need to know. This is the bottom line. Element is available to you, our listeners. A very special offer. You can claim your free Element sample pack. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. That's it. Just drinklmnt.com/birdswithfriends. That's where you go. drinklmnt.com/birdswithfriends. Get yourself some of that special electrolyte salt, baby. I've been liking the raspberry salt. I've been liking, there's a chocolate salt, which you might not expect, but it's a nice little twist. And there's a habanero one, which is actually pretty nice. So do what you got to do. drinklmnt.com/birdswithfriends. It's the most important element there is. Dinner time can be chaotic. I mean, who are we kidding? I'm recording this like 45 minutes after we had, my son eating dinner like in the living room, sitting at the couch. My daughter is like yapping away while she shoves little bits of cheese and green beans and a little bit of chicken into her mouth. It's a wild thing going on here. And that's because I didn't have Freshly tonight. Freshly offers chef-made, nutrient-packed, delicious meals delivered fresh to your door, no cooking required. And ordering is easy. Just visit freshly.com and choose from over 30 delicious, satisfying, better-for-you meals like steak peppercorn, sausage baked penne, and their chicken pesto bowl. Freshly can fit your lifestyle with variety of plans and meals to pick from that work for your dietary needs, preferences, tastes, and family size. Right now, Freshly is offering our listeners, this is a big deal here, our listeners $40 off your first two orders when you go to freshly.com/birds. So stop stressing about dinner. Go to freshly.com/birds for $40 off your first two orders. That's freshly.com/birds for $40 off your first two orders. And we're back on Birds with Friends. Zach, how do you feel about a George Niang?
Always liked his game. Liked it when he was at Iowa State. Was a decent three-point shooter. I think he was over 40% last year. Can fill the Mike Scott spot on the roster. Still, I don't think that move and Andre Drummond within themselves are enough for the Sixers. But I trust that Daryl Morey has more up his sleeves. He knows that opportunity is not a lengthy visitor.
Wow.
Nice.
I really thought about when those ads were playing. If I just shut down my computer and left,
Nobody would have been surprised.
I thought that would have been a fantastic moment, but like not as a joke. Like didn't sign back on. Maybe like texted you guys. I'll talk to you later. But
that's it. I quit.
I couldn't bring myself to quite doing.
Sheil, do you respect the stick-to-itiveness of the commenter who is still asking you right now in the comments to review City of God?
Well, the more I get that, the more it makes me not want to watch.
I know, but also it's gotten to a level now where I really do appreciate the game.
Oh, okay. Well, you should watch City of God then.
Well, I'm not the one he's asking to watch it. All right, let's do a little owl here, Zach. And Sheil, you can play sort of devil's advocate. Tell us if you think we're overreacting. But we're going to talk about 3 players each who we think have changed our opinions of them over the first week of camp. Would you like me to go first?
Yes, you go first.
I will go first, and I will start with 6th round pick Marlon Tuipulotu. And this is not much of well, yeah, I mean this is not going to be a segment for you, Sheil. I don't think you're going to know
I should have Sheil's commentary on this one.
Players. But entering camp, my expectation for Tuipulotu was that either he was going to make the roster or maybe be an IR guy because he was injured in the spring and also came with a back injury. And he's been practicing, and he hasn't done much. And he's also he's not getting many reps. Like I mentioned, those one-on-one periods, Rayquan Williams is getting 5-6 reps, and Tui's getting 1 or 2. And he hasn't done much to move the needle for me. It's only been 1 week. I'm not going to count a guy out 1 week into his rookie training camp. But what I do think is that I don't expect that there's going to be a role here for him right away. I think there's, Ridgeway has a chance to make the team. Even a T.Y. McGill, who's 29, I think they might keep on the practice squad just as a guy they could call up if they need to. I am no longer expecting that Tuipulotu will be in my 53.
I will go with Tyree Jackson. Tyree Jackson is a converted quarterback, and I don't want to say skeptical because I really didn't know, but I didn't think he would look as natural at tight end as he has. Frankly, he's looked better there, considerably better than Hakeem Butler, who I know hasn't been a full-time tight end this camp, has been with the receivers some when they were down on numbers. But I thought that Butler, given the draft pedigree, given the experience at wide receiver, there could be, I don't want to say Darren Waller potential, but that type of philosophy, right? Instead, I don't want to say Tyree Jackson is Logan Thomas, but it's harder to make that conversion, I think, from quarterback to tight end than it is from receiver to tight end. And Tyree Jackson has been their third best tight end. I think I don't know if Richard Rodgers needs to show you much during training camp. Right? He's Richard Rodgers. He's been better than Jack Stoll, at least as a receiver. I feel like he's been better.
Stoll's been okay.
Yeah, so Stoll's been okay. Kroom has been okay, but Tyree Jackson at that size is making tough catches, making contested catches. Give me Tyree Jackson. Sheil's laughing here. What did I say here?
I'm thinking of a moment I meant to bring up earlier from today in camp. So I brought up routes on air the other day where it's just, quarterbacks and pass catchers. There's no defense. It's the early part of practice. They run a route, you throw it. And we were talking about how, the efficient quarterbacks and kind of the good offenses, it's just, all right, every pass is a completion. It's like a warm-up drill. Basically, it's like having a catch, and how the Eagles, it hasn't really been like that. It's been a bit of an adventure. The balls hit the ground, and there was like a corner route today to Richard Rodgers, where I don't know if Jalen Hurts thought he had a little more juice or what. But again, picture this, the early part of practice, no defense. Richard Rodgers lays out for it.
He lays out.
I mean, he's making this he's making this one-handed diving catch in routes on air. I've never seen this before.
He made the catch?
He made the catch. The crowd's like, oh, nuts. And I'm like, this isn't what this part of practice is supposed to look like. Oh my gosh.
He's a
If there's-
master
if any-
showman. I've
I
been
don't
trying
know.
to tell you, home run derbies, routes on air. He's a showman.
I don't know if we were allowed to record at that time or not, but if any listener or media member was in attendance for that and got that on tape, please send it my way to see if it's as funny as I remember it in my head. Sorry, continue. What's the URL for the Birds with Friends store? That's a good question.
I think it's
'cause
just
I've got this great hoodie on.
tpublic.com/birdswithfriends. But
Okay. I know
I'll
if you
have it
search it, if you search TeePublic Birds with Friends, or if you go to tpublic.com and then look up Birds with Friends, it comes up very quickly. And this is a great hoodie. Now, I would say, do you want it like fitted, or do you want a little loose? If you want a little loose, you want to go a little size up, I would say, on this bad boy. And this is a lightweight.
a little bit of shrinkage is what you're
Lightweight
telling
hoodie.
us.
Well, I'm talking about the hoodie, Bo.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So Tyree Jackson, I actually didn't have him on my list because we talked about like there's a good chance this guy's going to be the training camp sensation. But you're right, he has over delivered. He has been really good, like better than you would have expected. He's like a pretty natural catcher of the ball. Joe Flacco was talking today about some of the passes he's thrown him, and he's impressed with his wingspan. Obviously, we wanted to see what he would look like with the pads on. Like, does he look like he's got any clue blocking wise that they'd be willing to trust him in a game? I didn't get to see much of him blocking today, but he did. He was still a factor in the passing game. He's probably caught more passes in team drills than maybe anybody else, other than like check down running backs.
I haven't necessarily been as blown away with him as everybody else.
It's more that it's been more that they seem to like the quarterbacks trust him, and maybe that's just because Joe Flacco likes throwing to guys, to tight ends, and he doesn't really care about receivers. But there have been a couple plays where I think his stuff has flashed. The flip side is I was going to have Hakeem Butler on my list, but you brought him up, so I won't have him. But he is like, I entered camp thinking he was going to be one of the young tight ends who had a chance. He's got no chance.
I would like.
He's been moved to receiver just to fill out numbers. He's done nothing.
If this season goes down the drain, I think you should pursue an oral history of the fade to Hakeem Butler. I mean, that's unbelievable, especially like you said, when you watch camp now.
Fantastic.
That was the play at that time. Outstanding.
On fourth down.
Yeah.
Okay, I will go with the Hakeem Butler thing threw me off.
Michael, I was not in LBI a few weeks back, by the way. Go ahead. Just
another sports Indian.
Handsome bald Indian, I presume.
I'm gonna go with Luke Juriga, another player who Sheil may not have heard of, but played 13 games last year.
Subscriber numbers just going up the.
I entered camp thinking that Juriga was on the outside looking in, probably not going to make the team, especially because they had so much depth at center theoretically with Isaac Seumalo and Landon Dickerson and Nate Herbig, who could all play there. But Dickerson and Seumalo have been hurt. I don't think we're expecting Dickerson to be able to step in and play center right away without practicing. And I think Juriga's taken a little bit of a step from last year. I think he's been pretty good. He's only 24. I think there's a good. I like what I've seen from Juriga. I think there's a good chance he ends up making this team. I think they may need an actual backup center given the roster construction.
So, do you have a guess for when would Landon Dickerson take a snap? Do we know?
Maybe after the first preseason game. That's
yeah. So they're gonna have it's gonna be with him and McLeod, but I would say him in particular. It's gonna be it's similar to Alshon last year. If he doesn't practice this summer, they're going to need to make a determination. Is he going to be back within those first 6 weeks? You don't want to be put in a situation where you're carrying a guy on the roster who's not ready to practice, who's not ready to play. Howie Roseman said on draft night, it's not a redshirt year. But if he doesn't practice this summer, then that becomes a bit of a roster question, because do you carry him or do you keep him on non-football injury?
Okay.
Well, and especially because like if he hasn't practiced all summer, are you going to be willing to put him in as the first or second guy off the bench? Like, or would you rather keep a Juriga, make sure that you keep his rights, and then you just wait 6 weeks, and then somebody else is probably going to be injured anyway, so Dickerson comes back.
Exactly, and this is a deep offensive line group, so if you keep him on the 53, you're ostensibly cutting someone that you like.
Mm-hmm. All right, Zach, over to you.
I will go Jason Huntley. We spoke about him earlier, but I will give my 30 seconds here. I was down on Jason Huntley after last season. My view was if you can't get on the field,
you killed him.
If you can't get on the field on a team that played like that last year, then that's a problem. Like they were looking for anyone on offense to contribute in November and December. He was on the 53. He was there. If they thought he could play, he would have played. And Deuce Staley's a really good running backs coach. Like I trust Deuce Staley's judgment with this stuff. I trust Deuce Staley's instincts. He was not getting on the field. We have seen in the past running backs who look outstanding in training camp practices, and then it just doesn't translate to games. Henry Josie was a training camp standout, if you recall.
I wrote a nice feature on Henry Josie.
So was Raheem Mostert.
Yes, and he could play. But that's and similar to Mostert, speed is hard to get rid of, and Huntley can accelerate. Huntley has that second gear.
It's like the Robbie Findlay corollary,
What's the corollary?
Well, U.S. soccer, like the speed. You need some. It's tough to turn the speed away, even if the guy's not very good.
Yes, yeah. So Huntley has. I've changed my opinion on Huntley, and mind you, I did not watch him practice last year because he was not with the team during training camp, and I admit I did not watch New Mexico State in college. So this was a guy who.
That's actually I do find that surprising.
That I did not watch New Mexico State.
Yes, it feels like the kind of thing you would do.
Tough conference to watch right there. So just in terms of
that's the thing is that's why it was a steal when they got him in the 5th round because the rest of the league, for the most part, they're asleep when the West Coast is playing. But if you're a real tape grinder, you're willing to stay up, and that's how you find a gem like Jason Huntley in the 5th round.
True. Now they are an independent program, I believe now, New Mexico State. They were not on my radar. So I did not know much about him other than 5th round pick. I read his stuff I read his profile in Dane Brugler's report. I saw some YouTube clips, but did not impress me when he was on the field. Could not get on the field. Did not see him in practice, of course. And he has shown me something this summer.
I'm going to go and close it out as somebody who has changed my mind. I'm going to go.
You didn't prep for this?
Well, I did, but Hakeem Butler was going to be my one, and so I have a list, and I got to pick what I want.
That's fine. Why don't we just go with that? Zach, give us
I'm going to go Davion Taylor just a little bit. Not that he has done anything to super impress me, and a lot of this is just because they're willing to rotate guys through. But, I thought he looked pretty lost last year, and it seems like he's taken some little step forward. I think there's if you asked me before camp, is Davion Taylor going to get on the field on defense this year? I would have said it's going to take some injuries probably. And now I think there might be some kind of role for Davion.
So to balance out my 3, I can't just go with guys who've impressed me in one direction. I need to go the other way here. And I will go Andre Dillard. I don't want to say I fully bought into the Andre Dillard turned it around storyline, but I did buy into the idea that maybe we were too hard on him after that rookie season, right? That we really didn't see enough of him. He got hurt early last summer. We never saw him really hold down the starting job. This was a guy who was very highly regarded coming out of Washington State. Obviously, they traded up for him, but was considered the best pure left tackle in that draft. And frankly speaking, it doesn't seem like it was a very good left tackle draft to begin with, right? Because the guys behind
Howard's not bad.
But Jonah Williams hasn't done much in Cincinnati. I know he's not a pure left tackle. Nonetheless, I thought Dillard was going to be better so far than he's been. I am a sucker for the storyline of I've read more this offseason. Like I've really tried to exercise my mind. I do believe that he who does not read has no advantage over he who cannot read. And so every time he gives us book recommendations, I am all for it. But I don't know how decluttered his mind is out there when he has to block Josh Sweat.
Who do you think has more saying, Zach or Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, I didn't know what was happening there. I was like, I thought, yeah, I was like lost. I was like, what is going on here?
What's that?
I felt like you were doing saying after saying. You're talking about book. Like, I don't know that the audience knows that Andre Dillon, or I don't know that everybody knows about the, like he mentioned some of the books he read the other day, right? I don't
Yes,
think we
one of
discussed
them
that
is
on the
Why
podcast.
We Sleep. I have not read
Okay.
that book yet, but
What was the other one?
I think my wife wants me to read Why We Sleep because she does think I need to sleep more.
Well, is that what it's about? Is it like why sleep is good for your health?
I presume so, or perhaps it's a fiction book.
I didn't know if it was like a novel or if it was like a.
I don't get the
book.
sense. I got the sense that these are nonfiction books that he's reading.
Oh,
he was reading some self-help type books during.
I could tell him why we need to sleep.
Go ahead.
I try to tell Zach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one more, right?
But the saying that Zach said.
I don't have it.
No, there was another book. There was another Dillard book. Okay.
Zach said, he said, he who does not read has no advantage over he who cannot read. Who has more sayings, you or Jalen Hurts?
Well, I think Mark Twain said that, didn't he?
The lamp is never full.
Sounds like a hat to me.
Yeah, I put it. That is accurate. Yes, he who does not read has no advantage over he who cannot read.
All right. Sheil, your thoughts? Did you have anybody on your list?
I would like to get that right here on one of these types of hats. That's saying
we can make that a shirt.
Podcast, yeah.
He who does not listen has no advantage over he who cannot listen,
or she, for that matter.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay. Where are they? All right. Zach or Sheil, I know you want to leave. Do you want to give us a little preview of your defense? How you have the Eagles?
Because I still have to write a lot of it after this, so I can't really give you a preview. So you can just go ahead and read that on The Athletic. Now, this is my last time on before I depart. So again, hashtag BWF road trip. What am I looking for? I am looking for content. I have gotten more content recommendations, a lot of heavy stuff. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can be driving through Mansfield, Pennsylvania, listening to something about the war in Iraq. That shit might be a little too heavy for me. I understand it might be very good. Think light, think fun, think Sheil wants to hang out with them. It could be a podcast. It could be an episode. It could be a book. Now, there were some of those that came through. So tomorrow, what I'm going to do is go through my entire list of recommendations, download all of these, and we'll see what I get to on these drives. And of course, you can also use BWF Road Trip for your recommendations. I mean, State College. I don't know what's in State College anymore. I don't know where I'm supposed to go, where I'm supposed to eat. Can I get like a Penn State, volleyball T-shirt at Family Clothesline? Is that still a place? Is it not a place anymore? And so I need recommendations there. So the trip again will be from Baltimore to State College, from State College to Buffalo, from Buffalo to Cleveland. Marissa's got all the recommendations for Cleveland, so you don't have to worry about that. From Cleveland to Indianapolis, Indianapolis to Pittsburgh, and then Pittsburgh home. So quick stuff, somewhere I can stop real quick, grab a bite, grab a drink, grab a coffee, anything like that would be wonderful. So keep those coming. And you guys are going to call me random. Is this technically possible, Marissa, that you guys can just call me during the pod? Is that doable or no?
We're doing if your phone is somewhere safe, we could probably get you on while you're driving. I don't want to condone any driving here.
It would have to be an actual like an Apple CarPlay phone call, not like a video thing.
Okay, so we could definitely do that on Zoom for sure.
Okay.
We won't be able to make that one live, but we can get you on for sure.
Okay. Well, we can see if you feel so inclined. You can call me anytime and let me know the number because I don't answer.
Famous last words. We can call you anytime.
I don't answer, anyone who calls me, but especially if it's an unknown number. So, I'll have to get the number ahead of time or be expecting it. And I can just can check in. Who knows?
Maybe we can give you a call tomorrow to see if we can get your thoughts on maybe explaining why Marissa knows a little bit about Cleveland.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yes. Make sure you guys check The Athletic out tomorrow, in addition to the defensive rankings.
Oh, do not even look at the defensive rankings.
No, defensive rankings. Definitely read those.
All right, click the defensive rankings.
Click them.
Don't read, and then you can go.
Give them a thumbs up.
That will be much more interesting. All right, I'm going to be back for the Eagles Patriots joint practices. That's how I plan this bad boy. Let's end with this. Give me one thing that you think will be different, or an opinion that you think will have been formed or changed about this Eagles team by you guys between now and when I get back. I think it's August 15th, I believe, Z-Berm. So
yes,
12 days. The next 12 days. Wait, and there's a preseason game in there, right?
There's a Steelers game next week.
Okay. All right. So you'll get some reps. Give me one opinion that will be changed or formed, or maybe cemented more. It could be something you've already said, cemented more by the time I see you guys at the NovaCare Complex on August 15th.
I'm going to predict, this is not quite answering your question. I'm going to predict that after the first preseason game, there is a bit of a groundswell for Nick Mullins to be the backup quarterback.
But that can't happen financially. I mean, really, right?
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
I mean, they can eat $3.5 million if they wanted to.
Oh
right?
my God!
They created some
Why
space.
Did you just listen?
Yeah.
Why did you do that? All right, I like that one. All right, Z-Berm, you got something?
I guess I'll stay on brand. I think the Josh Sweat breakout year stories are going. You'll see more and more of those.
I think that's right.
That's a good one.
Maybe against the Steelers, he gets the quarterback early. I just think when Sheil's doing his free agency top 50 next year, Josh Sweat's going to be high on that list. 24
during
years
this
old.
year? I like bringing that out during the
this
season.
Year,
yeah,
24 years old, an ascending player. If the Eagles don't lock him up, Josh Sweat's going to get some money.
Maybe a little Romeo Okwara comp there. I think 13 mil a year, but who knows? I mean, if he has a monster, if he has a real big season, then it could be bigger than that. I think that's a good one. And I will add to that I think that national media types who come in want to give you their little insidery thing.
That's a good one.
They'll act like no one knows this guy. Yeah,
they'll really be gassing him up.
Team is really excited about this young pass rusher.
5 from Eagles camp. Watch out for 3. Watch out for Josh Sweat. This guy's got a motor and athleticism.
Say no more. Watch out for Josh Sweat. I'll say no more.
You don't hear this name a lot, but that's what they give you. You don't hear this name a lot, but.
Sheil, somebody suggests trade Flacco to the Colts, but I saw a report on Twitter during our ad break that Phillip Rivers says that he's not necessarily ruling out.
That's late in the season. That's Sam Farmer from the LA Times. He's down in Alabama doing a story on Phillip Rivers, and I think Phillip Rivers said after the high school football season's over, he's not ruling out joining a team in December or January. That's the life, man.
A little bit earlier.
Also, you know what else is the life?
Fly back for the games, maybe some practices.
You know what else is the life? Sam Farmer knowing he's going to drop that tweet and watch this.
Sam Farmer, great guy. Very nice guy. Yeah, I like it.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's like,
right.
He gets to, I was spending the day with Phillip Rivers, and guess what, everybody?
Good adrenaline.
Watch your back, Carson.
It feels good to drop something like that.
All right.
Rivers did do the thing where he had the special vehicle where he was driving the bus from San Diego. So he's used to sort of this commuting lifestyle. You can figure it out.
Yeah. And speaking of Phillip Rivers, I asked Shane Steichen this the other day, but it's just usually when you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, you're trying to find someone who has experience working with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, right? I know Tyrod Taylor started a game last year and they ostensibly built an offense for him. And Justin Herbert's athletic, but Shane Steichen's coaching background is basically Phillip Rivers, right? Nick Sirianni is mostly now Andrew Luck's mobile, Jacoby Brissett's mobile, or Jacoby Brissett, I should say. But most of this, the people putting together this coaching staff, Phillip Rivers is the guy who they've worked with, and Jalen Hurts is on the other end of the spectrum in terms of of the type of quarterback on the field. Than Phillip.
Maybe that. Well, there you go. That's the template. The Eagles are 7-7 heading into the last 2 weeks of the season. Jalen Hurts gets hurt. They're 1 game back of the NFC East. Forget about Joe Flacco. Call
to the
Up
Eagles.
Phil Rivers.
I didn't think about that.
He knows Sirianni. He knows Steichen. Let's make it happen.
What's his hat thing? What's his Latin phrase?
The Latin phrase. Yes, it's
E pluribus unum.
Zeppi, something. I don't know. Anyway,
Marissa
has wanted to be done for half an hour, and I'm with
her.
All right. I'll see everyone later.
Nunc coepe. Now I begin.
Kind of like that. Huh.
Sounds like somebody somebody you just signed to like a contract. I don't know. I didn't really follow through with that. I'm sorry. I just ruined the pod an hour and 15 minutes in.
That happened long ago.
Never going to get that back. Okay. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. Training Camp Day 6. We will be back tomorrow.
With Eagles a lot to discuss.
We've got a lot to discuss. We've got a lot to discuss. Because I was once the camp discus champion at the camp track meet. So, pretty big deal. For Zach and Sheil and Marissa, I'm Bo. And as always, we love you.